So I'm going to talk to you guys right now. Hopefully there's some tech leaders, some admins. I've seen a few IT directors in here. I've seen the daddy of UberMix in here. This is the right session for you. If you're a thought leader that wants to bring dramatic change to your LEA, this is the session. It's not going to be as wacky as my other ones. This is my cerebral session. I just got done working for the Mariposa County Office of Education as the assistant superintendent in charge of curriculum instruction, while also, and this is what's great about small counties, while also being the IT director, while also being the risk management officer. And so I'm just going to build my case here a little bit. I'm a digital native. I'm not a digital immigrant. I was BYOD in 1979. This was my device. And thanks to Christmas 1980, I was BYOD in 1982. And my favorite new feature was the ability to pass, because I don't like being one-dimensional on my offense. So, how many of you guys had one of those though, really? Yes. But I'm saying, if you brought that to school and got in trouble for it, you're a digital native. Just buy yourself a pin, own it. Who did programming on a Trash 80? Right? I never made a single game. I learned some code. All I remember for sure is go sub B and break. I don't even know what go sub B does, but I remember that. The reason I never made an actual game was because I didn't finish the year in that classroom. The reason I didn't finish the year in that classroom was because the teacher and I did not get along. Can you dig the irony here? And in our separation meeting from that class, this is what the teacher told my mom. What's the class? What is the class? Oh my God. And he would lecture and lecture and lecture. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to make a game. Pac-Man with 2 guns. That's my idea. Pac-Man. No, sorry, not Pac-Man. Space Invaders, right? But with 2 guns. 2 guns, kill the alien. Never finished the game. I have the cassette somewhere with a 20% done Space Invaders with 2 guns. But his complaint was I wouldn't get off the computer. So, digital immigrant or digital native? How about this? That actual AM radio, that was what woke me up in 1981. And I heard the news about the LEA computer, a computer with a graphical interface and a mouse where people could make graphics. And I was like, oh, hell yes, AM radio. You have brought me the future. Because it was straight up AM only. Look at the dial. It's AM. There is no FM. It's AM only. So in my first couple years of teaching, how many people believe you have to hack your school? No, you need a better. You have to hack your school. I love the Makers logic. If you're a Maker fan, what's their credo? If you don't hack it, you don't really own it. So please start hacking your school. So we had really crappy 486, 200 megahertz machines. Think about that one for a second. So we got in touch with a local Department of the Treasury, was one of our local parents, and they said, we got a bunch of off-lease machines. Dude, 486, 400 megahertz. Score. So we just went ahead and got our own, we got a new lab. That's what we did in approximately 2000. And I literally brought shovels and picks from home because our coax Ethernet cable to that building was not connected. So I'm literally, as a teacher, my principal's walking by, what are you doing? Putting in more coax. I'm digging trenches. A little sidebar to that as a teacher, when I worked in Clovis Unified, I went through the boneyard, all the old computers, and I found the district email server box, Claris Email. Remember that? And I had Claris Email running on an LC3, and I had a bunch of SE30s, Apple talked in, and if you've worked in Clovis Unified, you may not leave pictures on the wall when you go to summer break. You have to strip everything, right? And I was able to get permission to drill a hole between 2 portables. And I had second graders using Clara's email to email sixth graders. No internet. Right? So that's the way I do these things. So that wasn't good enough. I already alluded to this. So we went one-to-one Palm Pilots. With keyboard, that's the key. Nothing like printing to a LaserJet 6L with the infrared port. This is one of my high school projects. I was multimedia before it was cool. That's not an effect, that's paper. And I would say I was way ahead of the curve on the greenhouse effect. Were you working on the greenhouse effect in 81? I don't think so. I got a B. I know, really, I got a B. And I just took these pictures. I still have these documents. I took a drafting class, and that's what you do in a drafting class, right? I got bored, so I did this. With no training, just went home and took one of my models, took the instructions, set myself up, cloned it. Teacher said, that's really cool, but that's not what we're doing. Go back to this. And I transferred out of that class. So am I building my case here a little bit? I was doing the same stuff your kids are doing right now, but it wasn't a technology issue, it was a pedagogy issue. So yeah, so that basically got me tossed out of that class. Sorry for doing cool stuff. So this is Mariposa, a little rundown on Mariposa. Mariposa has basically 4 metropolitan areas. One is Yosemite National Park. We have a park in the school. I mean, a school in the park. I'm dyslexic. Don't laugh at me.
Hey, I would never laugh at you.
You're harassing me. This drive right here is an hour and 20 minutes. I might see 2 cars. Geneva used to work there. She's like, whoa, no, really. There is one store right there. It's really good, but there's only one. So if you want a snack, that's where you're going to stop. We have 17,000 people in the whole county and 1,400 square miles. For comparison, San Francisco, 837,000 people slammed into 231 square miles. So the density was very different. I'll just put that one in for fun. So key dates of this proposal that I'm going to make to you right now. I got hired on July 1st of 2013. For the purposes of this study, we are looking at the window from November 1st, 2013 to November 1st, 2014. Does that make sense? Because the whole concept here is how far can you go in an LEA in 1 year? This is my challenge for you guys. How far can you go in 1 year? If you haven't updated your AirServer this year, this is going to be fun for you. So this is Marlena Hebern. Yes, she's cool. You might have seen her over at the Uncon. I sat down with her as her new boss and I said, what is it you do? Forget the job description. What does your day look like? This was her answer. I thought that was a wildly ineffective way to engage an educator in helping kids. So using the 1 year concept, I'm going to give you 1 year of Marlena before I go into the bigger picture. So within 4 months of me getting there, Marlena opened up for Alan November. It was great because I couldn't go to the event and there were 500 people in the room. And she texted me, hey, there are 500 people here. This was her first major presentation. And then she texted me, who's Alan November? Because he's going before me. And I was like, ooh, this is going to be an interesting series of texts. And he did, and then he sat by her, and I think he said, how'd I do? And she was like, oh, that was really good. And then she went. And I was literally getting texts from people that we knew during her session going, where's Marlena been all this time? She is doing great. That's pretty cool, right? Her next big thing was, I said, Marlena, you should explore the idea of Ed Camp Yosemite in the valley. That would be a cool thing. How many people think Ed Camp in Yosemite sounds cool? Okay. Well, there is one, thanks to Marlena. But April 25th, not just she's plugging. And so she texts me an hour later, hey, there's an Ed Camp Sunday. This is Thursday. There's an Ed Camp Sunday. I'm going to San Francisco. We're going to an Ed Camp. She sits down next to a lady named Kristen Swanson, if you don't know who that is. She is the mother of Ed Camp. Marlena sits down next to her. Are you seeing a trend here? So Marlena gets signed up for Ed Camp. She runs Ed Camp Yosemite. This last year at Fall Q, she did 2 sessions. 2 sessions at Fall Q. She's approaching 2,000 fans on Twitter, where when I first got there, she was like, I don't know about Twitter. She's doing 2 here and participating in running the Unconference. And she is a Google certified educator. Sorry, Google educator, the certified part, not yet. She's working on it. She's a leading edge certified administrator. And she has been on faculty for 2 Rockstar camps and another one this summer. How is that for a year of professional learning? Okay, so you see the model I'm trying to develop. What's possible in a year? That's a lot. How many people that work with teachers would be happy if half of your staff could do half of that? Right? But this is just the deal. Marlena made a decision to up her tempo, ask more questions, and do things. That's the magic mix. 365 days. So I loved it when the Future Ready thing came out. How many of you guys have seen the kind of Future Ready hashtag? It's this White House initiative, the Department of Tech. It's a good thing. It's really cool. So when I was building my sessions for this particular Q event, I thought Future Ready would be a fun thing to put in a real-life context. So in 2013, in Mariposa, they were trying to run science labs in portables. Have you ever tried to do that? It's not good, right? You got carpet, you have student desks instead of tables. There's a multitude of things that are messed up. So we learned a lot about that from the community when we did our LCAP discussions and planning. And this is my favorite one to kick off because my assistant in Mariposa, her husband's one of the lead custodians. And she told me, the custodians are making bets that you guys won't have the science labs ready the first day of school like you said. And I was like, you said what? Oh no. So the first day of school, they look like that. And my favorite bit is the pull down power from the ceilings. Okay? We put new linoleum, we got stools, we added whiteboards. So that was just deciding. It was really affordable. We spent maybe $8,000 per portable doing that. But that change happened between basically, let's say, May and September 1st. Boom, boom. In 2013, in September, we had regular math classes. I hope I don't have to explain to that, right? It's just pretty much math. We were using CPM, which is kind of cool because it's project-based, but it was very mathy. By September 2014, we had gone to 360 math. Have you guys seen 360 math? If you go to 360degreemath.com, they have all the stuff you need to teach this way. The magic of 360 math is that the kids stand at the board. Who does? Everybody. And like in this setting, it's hard for me to get in between the desks, right? Imagine if all of you guys are around the perimeter. How easy would it be to see what's going on? Ed, are you a 360 math user, Ed? How is it? Is it good? So, did we make a dramatic change in math? Yes. We found some imitation whiteboards. We were able to get enough of those to put in a classroom for about $350 a classroom to convert them. Most of our classrooms are now 360 math. If you want to read more about it, 360degreemath.com. There's a little short documentary there. I think it's from PBS, and the guy gives a recipe of how to do this. So that's what it looks like in action. Where are the kids? Right? And we know it's healthy to not sit for a long time, right? So this has been wildly popular. Now we go through about 300 expo markers per quarter. But that, at least I know they're really doing it, unless they're just stealing the markers. Okay, IT people especially, have you seen the new version of Maslow's hierarchy? It all starts right there. There is no way to do CASP testing without this part, right? And I didn't make that, I just grabbed it off the internet. Just put in Maslow's plus Wi-Fi. There's about 20 versions of it. But don't you guys agree now? It's different. There's another variation of this that has battery underneath Wi-Fi. It's battery, Wi-Fi, then we can worry about air and stuff. So in 2013, we were using a nameless brand of access points that literally had our... Now remember the map I showed you? When we had a service call, it was a 3-hour round trip. That's no work time. If you got 3 of those a week, your techs are out of business 50-60% of the week just doing this at 60 cents a mile. So we switched from this one. These routinely had to be rebooted once a week. Anytime we wanted to change an SSID setting, the drive, plug into each one, that took more hours. So we switched, and I'm not trying to plug a brand, but I love Ruckus. Super good for education. And they're what are called, if you're less IT-ish, those are what are called thin WAPs, okay? And so we can now change SSIDs and settings right from the district office. So if we needed to add a guest network, we could just go boom, it would come off at 5 in the afternoon, and it gave us a ton more productivity. And back to the Wi-Fi triangle, right? It was on more often. We got rid of Radius. We were using Radius protocols to get people logged on. Our security was so good we couldn't use the network. I'm just going to let that sit there for a minute. Our security, and check it out, nobody from Chechnya is trying to take our SIS records. They don't care. We just need a modicum of safety. We didn't have to make it so safe it was unable to be used. And we actually went BYOD at the high school. We were able to say, kids, bring your stuff. And then what I did was I did a big presentation to the kids, and I showed them the dashboard of what I could see them doing. And I said, when you're messing up, we're going to screenshot it and send it to your mommy and daddy, and they will kick your butt. And the kids did not want to engage that conversation. Yeah, we were just using the Ruckus dashboard, okay? Here's another little trick for people that are less IT-ish, right? My wife's district was having a problem because the kids had figured out the password. You know what the password was? No, it was way more sophisticated. It was the name of the school mascot. And they're in meetings going, these damn kids have figured out the password. You could put an asterisk and maybe put a 4 where the A was. There's a technique for this. So, but they didn't want to close down their network even though they were annoyed the kids were on. There was this weird conflict. So I said, okay, here's the deal. You're going to go into your dashboard for your Wi-Fi and you're going to knock out the top 6 kids. You're going to block the MAC address for that device. You're going to send an email to the whole school and say, if your internet has stopped working, report to the library for service. Oh, you're funny dude, 334. I got a screenshot for you. So we just patrolled the network a little bit. What they were doing was not looking at the dashboard and then wondering where all the bandwidth went. You can't do that in a BYOD setting. When kids are bringing their own devices, you have to look at the top users, and then you have to block their MAC address. And the classic response from a lot of IT folks is, but they can spoof their MAC address. No, they're 15, man. You can't spoof a MAC address very easily on an iPhone or an iPad. This is just taking off the low-hanging fruit. So we just started patrolling the network and saying, hey, this kid's downloading the whole internet right now. So in Ruckus, it's this easy. Block MAC address. Boom, he's out of business. And then you know what happens is the next day they bring a different device. These are some real-life pictures of what I got when I got there. The box doesn't close, and there's more stuff on the floor. This is our standard wiring look when I got there. Now, again, if you're not techie, you can still identify that it's not right? But on the tech side, there's a thing called 5 nines, which means you're up 99.99% of the time. That means you're down for like an hour a year. What are the odds that you have a loose cable in this setting? You're not at 5 nines anymore. It's that simple. Really strong technicians make it look pretty because that's the way it looks when it's right. So I had to start working with them to bring a sense of this doesn't look right. Another good one. They were pulling off the strain relief boots. Why are strain relief boots there? Anybody? Strain relief boots are there to relieve strain. Now, how do I know this is a problem? Because right there, you see that little notch? That's supposed to clamp down the outer casing of the cable. Is that happening? And that's a big problem when it takes your tech 3 hours to go there and get back to replace a $2 cable. So they weren't punching their cables down very well, and the cables were pulling out of the teacher's machine. The teacher would freak out because, and I'm a teacher, but there's a lot of teachers that when the cable comes unplugged, they're like, they don't know what to do. The cable's unplugged. So I would send a guy for a 3-hour drive to plug in the cable. You can't win like that. So I started having to teach our guys, strain relief boots are there because they relieve strain. You can't get to 5 nines if you have strain all over the place. This is the worst WAP installation we had. If you're not super techie, that's the wireless access point, and that's a microwave oven. We had an issue where the Wi-Fi was going down at random times. And the district office would say, it's fine now. So there was this cup of soup incident. When I got there in 2013, now I've given Marlena a lot of props, but when I got there in 2013 and did AirPlay for the first time, you guys know what AirPlay is, right? Yes. You can wirelessly broadcast. I did it, and she goes, what app is that? And I go, no, it's not an app, it's AirPlay. She goes, no, it has to be an app, it's not on mine. And I said, no, but you need a device that has AirServer for it to appear. So what we did was, how many people think Apple TV sounds like a good idea, but you're not going to spend $100 a classroom, right? Or now $69 a classroom, which is way better. AirServer is $4 a classroom, and it runs on a Mac or a PC. So if you're one of those districts that has iPads and PCs, for $4 a PC, you can add the AirServer app, and now your PC or Mac thinks it's an Apple TV. So if you have 100 teachers and you spend $4 per teacher, what does that initiative cost you to do a whole county? And it went so good that we went ahead and put it in the boardroom. It's awesome to not have people jacking in and playing with their dongles in public at the board meeting. They can just go, jump onto the AirServer, show their 3 or 4 slides, get back off. It's very smooth, very professional. But the best part is kids can share their stuff. And that's why we love AirPlay. Kids don't need me to write on my iPad. I need them to show what they've written on their iPad. That's the next level. So AirServer, now there's AirParrot, there's Reflector. So people are like, what about Reflector? Same thing, different brand. I just happen to like AirServer because of the Mac PC side, and I think a volume buy of Reflector is a little more. It's maybe $7 or $8. So it was several factors, but there's several ways to get it done. In 2013, we basically had not done any PD for almost 8 years. I had a teacher from our county come up to me at Fall Q and say, John, I haven't had PD since 1998. That was in 2014. By the end of 2014, we had 8.72 days of PD per teacher. And some people will say, well, that's great, John, but that's just a number. What does that look like? Well, I'm glad you asked. It looks like this. We had Dave Burgess come in for a day. He keynoted and then did breakout sessions that were available to every teacher in the district. Okay? We had Alice Keeler come in for a day. Her session was epic. Her session was titled, If you don't know what Command T does, you better come to my session. We had Ramsey Masalam come in for a day of lesson design with our 10 math teachers. If you don't know Ramsey, he's a TED Talk level brain thinker lesson design guy. Our 10 key math teachers from 6th grade up got to spend a day with Ramsey. I brought Dan Meyer in for a day for that same 10 group. You see what's going on here? This is going to be like the Marlena thing all over again. It's a landslide, all right? John Stevens and Matt Vaudry came in for a day and did La Cucina Mathematica with our 10 top teachers. If you haven't seen them, check that out. I got 2 little catchphrases for them. One is Barbie Zipline, and the other one is Mullet Ratio. You need to check that out. Will Kimbley came in for a day to show us Chromebook tips and tricks. We just had Rustin Hurley up for Ed Camp Yosemite with a group of only 60 people. He spent the day working with them. J.R. Ginnick-Arinian came up. He's a Google certified teacher and general badass. We had Lisa Delapo, who came from San Francisco. She's another Google certified teacher. We had Joe Wood come out and keynote and spend a day working with our teachers in small groups. We did Ed Camp Yosemite, and on April 25th, Ed Camp Yosemite 2. We sent over 40% of our teachers over the year, no, I'm sorry, it's probably more like 30%, went to Fall Q, Spring Q, or Q Rockstar Camp. 40%, 30%, a lot, okay? We had about half of our admin staff had the ability to go to Lead 3. They were all offered a chance to become leading edge certified administrators. And we had Buck Institute for 3 days with our entire high school staff. So when I say this is what we did for 8.72 days, that's the kind of stuff we did. That doesn't account me doing stuff on the fly, Marlena going out almost every Monday on collaboration days and doing small, timely, handcrafted things. How does that look? Okay. In September 2013, we had a huge focus on books and worksheets. Huge focus. Books, worksheets, books, worksheets. We were a paper-eating machine. September 2014, our key focus was the 4 C's. We were doing instructional rounds. We started having deep conversations with people about when you do a worksheet, what's the communication part? If you're communicating on a worksheet, typically that's cheating, right? What's the creative bit of answering B or filling in the blank? It's really not creative. So we started a big initiative of getting everybody thinking about the 4 C's. And it was cool because originally, when we did rounds in spring of 2013, we had a lot of one-to-many, right? You guys know what one-to-many is, right? The teacher talking, kids circle around, in choral, answering, yes, teacher, yes, teacher. They thought that's what we wanted to see. By the fall of 2014, you know what we saw? Kids sitting in groupings, kids doing breakout things, kids moving around the room. Here's a couple of good examples. That's the solar oven project, and we've seen that at a lot of schools, but here's my favorite part. The teachers having the kids do the data collection, present to each other, talk about the science of what happened. Not just make the solar oven, but talk about why it worked and why the design and what their hypothesis. They were giving why statements. 2013, I don't think any of our admins had a laptop. Now they had iPads, but admins need more than just an iPad for moving around. So by November 2014, we had 100% equipped the admins with MacBooks. We had few mobile devices for staff. There were smatterings of them. And by November 2014, we had every K-8 teacher except, is Cindy here? Cindy's not here. There was one. Hers machine lagged because she moved. But there was like one person that we had to track down. But basically all of our K-8 folks had an iPad, and then we were rolling out Chromebooks to all of our teachers. How can you be an effective modern teacher if you are limited to a desktop? And I'm not against desktops, but how are you an effective modern teacher if your work stays at school every day? You might as well just put it in a little rolly cart and not take it home. 2013, what's a mystery Skype? Right? I know you know what it was. She's like, yes, yes. But what I said, hey, Yosemite Valley School, you should do mystery Skypes. So by September 2014, we had done a mystery Skype. And by the way, if you mystery Skype with Yosemite, you will lose, because no school ever guesses you're in Yosemite when you're doing a mystery Skype. The other schools never guess that. And they've done a whole bunch of them since. And then I made a little video about what they did, and that was featured on the front page, the front main webpage of skype.edu. So that was pretty cool, right? For a district that had a lot of nothing going on technologically to be on the front page there. I also entered that video in the California Media Festival, and just for the record, Marlena's husband teaches film, and we closed down the teacher section in the California Media Festival last year. I was K-8 and he was 9-12. Dominant. So that was fun. Our labs in 2013 were primarily Windows XP. My favorite thought about Windows XP is we weren't fighting the Taliban when that came out. Our labs were primarily Windows XP and Core 2 Duos, primarily circa 2006. So by September 2014, within 1 year, our labs were Windows 7, UberMix, and i5 or better. A few of them didn't get deployed until recently, but they were purchased and the plan was laid down. So now we have modern machines. By the way, I taught our IT guy how to get the machines ghosted before they got delivered, so the deployment was super rapid, and Minecraft EDU was in that deployment. Just go right for it. We had 8 iPad shared carts about in September 2013. By September 2014, all of our 7th and 8th graders were one-to-one with iPads, taking them home at night, county-wide. And we had moved into a 1-to-2 model at the high school for Chromebooks. Unless they change a plan since I leave, or have left, they'll be one-to-one next fall. So it'll be a one-to-one high school. What's the time frame on this journey? 1 year, okay? And that's a county-wide scenario. In 2013, we did a typical school start. What's a typical school start look like? I say your name wrong when I take roll. I give you a book. I give you the rules for the school. And I tell you that on Friday there will be a test, and many of you will get an F because I have a tough class. Sound about right? Pretty close? So what we did in 2014 was what's called Smart Start. We de-emphasize academics for the first 3 or 4 days of school. We emphasize culture building. We did things like the Marshmallow Challenge countywide. Have you guys seen the Marshmallow Challenge? It's free. You need about $12 worth of marshmallows and spaghetti. But what was happening was some of our coolest and smartest administrators are doing things like they would have the whole school do a marshmallow challenge on Wednesday, and the best 2 teams from each grade range would come back together at lunch and do a build-off at the end of lunch. Does that create excitement and interest in your school? And what's the investment? It's pretty small. And then we did a lot of things that are online. If you Google Smart Start John Carippo, I have a bunch of resources there. We did things like app mixers where people could very quickly integrate the use of technology and team building at the same time. Because we tend to see it this way. We'll get to iMovie in December. Or I don't know Keynote yet. So we created little scenarios where the kids would do things like go around and interview each other. So you say, my favorite superhero is my favorite. And they would just interview each other, just a 1-sentence statement, and then just do some quick editing, and then share it together. And kids learned about each other. And you build a sense of well-being and safety. So in 1 year, we had changed that, and that was really popular. I think it's going to be back next year really well. September 2013, no student email, and if you had work to do, you share it to thaw space. Completely unportable. By September 2014, we have an account set up for Google countywide, so we're rolling that way. No school-based social media, right? Is that a common scenario? The problem with not having a social media presence as a school is that then you don't own your story. Your story is getting told at barbecues about, crazy things that have happened at school. There's no counter story of the good things happening at your school. So we actually put this in the LCAP plan. So Mariposa County High School has about 520 kids ADA this year. They have 1,000 followers on Facebook. Is that a good ratio? Right? And things like this would happen. They would have goofy sophomore, junior kids at basketball games jumping around, 395 views. If you're a Facebook user, how cool is it to get 395 views? But what the administrator's doing is showing our kids have spirit, our kids have fun, they're in a safe place, they're being taken care of, and this is what your kids are doing right now. I've actually had parents at a previous district where I worked, we were taking pictures of the kids coming into the prom, just kind of goofing around as they were coming in, and parents are texting us going, "Where's my kid? I want to see what they're doing." And parents are interested. So you got to tell that other half of the story besides just the meat and potatoes facts and just what's happening at the barbecues. In September 2013, coding was an undiscovered territory for us. By November of 2014, we had about 10% of our teachers in K-8 did the hour of code. They were using Scratch. I literally walked in on a guy who's about a 20-year veteran, and I go, "Dude, you're doing Scratch. That's awesome." And he goes, "I have no idea what they're doing." I just watch, and then I ask them, "How did you do that?" Is that sounding familiar at all? Sugata Mitra? And his kids think he's cool. And he's learning by watching them work. I had another teacher, another great incident. Have you guys heard of Hopscotch? It's an iPad app, super easy programming. This was one of my favorite moments of the year. We have a giant problem right now with girls and STEAM, right? Girls and STEM and STEAM. Girls don't see technology and coding as part of their future. I was redeploying the iPads at one of our small schools, and one of the 7th graders leaned over and said, "Is Hopscotch on there again?" And I'm like, "Ooh, why?" And she goes, "We make games and send them to each other." Could it get better? And I guarantee you that their 2 teachers up there are not coders. They just allowed kids to do cool things. And then they talked about it. And then another one is, a lot of people don't know there's Khan Academy. There's a full-blown coding course inside of Khan Academy. And I don't mean watch a video, answer, or what. There's literally it's got the full-blown interface that you need to do programming right in Khan Academy. So the guy that was in the 360 math class, he's got an elective doing that. So that's a pretty good difference in a year if you've gone from no coding to somewhere in the lines of 11 to 15 teachers actively using coding, voluntarily choosing to do the hour of code. I had people emailing me, I did the hour of code, it was awesome. And it wasn't one of the things where I'd said I'd like you to do the hour of code. They were choosing to. In September 2013, we had no 3D printing. By November 2014, we had 3D printing at multiple sites. And another amazing thing happened. Barry Sugata Mitra, the teacher that was running this elective where they were doing the 3D printing, he had been doing it for about 2 months. And again, not the guy that you would peg as super aggressive or super techie. And I said, how's it going? And he goes, oh, it's going really good. I got the 7th and 8th graders teaching the 3rd and 4th graders how to 3D print. That's what it looks like right there. 7th and 8th graders taking a leadership position, teaching the 3rd and 4th graders how to 3D print. We had no Minecraft. I already spilled the beans on this a little bit. By November of 2014, all of our K-8 sites have Minecraft, and we're actively using it in several situations. One of my favorite moments of the year was when a teacher emailed me. Now, I'm the assistant superintendent, right? So people aren't supposed to email me, but I like it when they do. So I get this email. You should have seen their faces when I froze them in Minecraft. I am a goddess. I wish I was videotaping it. She's like, this is the best thing ever. And if you're going to think 4 Cs, there's very few tools richer than Minecraft for that kind of thing. You can use Minecraft in language arts. You can use it in math. You can use it for coding. You can use it for storytelling. You can use it for history. You can use it for all kinds of things. And in September 2013, when I got there, we kind of were in a tech and curricular melees. People did not believe in the network. People were not engaged in their teaching because what are they doing? They're not creating, they're handing out. The network might work if you reboot it. By November 2014, we got selected to go to Washington as part of the Future Ready Summit that they had there. That's a pretty good change in 1 year for a district that started as Windows XP, and we hadn't really done PD in almost a decade. So here's a little bit of the how. You'll hear this. John, people don't like to change. How many of you have a smartphone? Did you have to change phones to get a smartphone? People do not dislike change. It's an excuse we sometimes use in education to not work as much. How many of you were not married when you got born? Something changed, right? That's a pretty big change. You were married when you were born? Oh, okay. Right. So effective leaders have to be able to make the process fun and interesting, right? Here's an example. A lot of our teachers were not using the electronic gradebook. They were doing it by paper and then dumping in a final grade. So instead of us saying, you have to use the gradebook by next week, we took a long view and said, we need you using it by the 2nd trimester. And a bunch of people said, we're going to have to do it sometime. We might as well start. And there was a middle group that saw them start and said, they're not dead. Let's give it a try. And by the time we hit the 2nd trimester, I think, Marlena, we have 3 or 4 people that needed a private session with Marlena. Took about an hour or so, and they were like, this is it? No, I could do this. But the way we lead that is important, because when you say this or die, people have that pushback. You go in waves, you go in layers. I argue that people do like change. If you didn't have a Twitter account until a year ago, you changed something, right? People do like change. If you're driving a car that's powered by batteries, you like change. If you switch from Starbucks to Cool Bean, you like change, right? People do like change. It's just how we couch it and the process we go through. So that's what I say to people that don't like change. I'm calling you out. Intensity is free, you guys. It doesn't cost anything to be more purposeful in what you want to do. I'm going to channel Sugata a little bit. He's a pretty low-key guy, right? but he's very purposeful. Would you agree with that? He's like, he's not jumpy like me. He's like, we are going to do this, and it'll take 10 years, but we are going to do this. People are different, operating at different rates, but he has an intensity about him, a sense of purpose. Better ideas are free. It doesn't cost anything to teach better. People tend to say, oh, John, we could do that, but we can't afford it. It's not more expensive to have a better pedagogy. You might need to buy a book off Amazon for $4 or something to get you going, but it's not hundreds of thousands of dollars to change. And tempo is free. You really need to look at your business people and say, dude, I cannot fix this if it takes 3 months to get a PO for my MacBooks. The cycle is wrong. Another big tempo mistake people make, you'll hear teachers say this a lot. Good idea, John. I'll try that in the fall. Right? Huge mistake. What I tell them is try now. Play with it now, because when you come back in the fall, you'll be an expert. See the little difference there? So if you're going to try to do 360 math, you want to try to get that installed in May, which means you need to get a PO faster. So they can tinker with it in May, so they can think about it all summer, so when they come back at the beginning of the year, boom. That's tempo. You save a half a year every time you think that way. Because if you're just going to not do anything until fall, you just wasted 4 to 7 months. Does that make sense? And it's that simple. My dad's rule when I was growing up, he said, John, a lot of people work in places and the coffee machine's broken and that picture's crooked and the screen is messed up and they never fix it. If you fix one thing a day, at the end of the year, you will have fixed about 300 things. It's a pretty simple recipe and it works really good. Better pedagogies are free. Did that one. Okay, MindSHIFT. You can use your calculator on this. It's okay. How many kids in your ADA? I want everybody to do this real quick. So how many kids in your district? Times 6. Raise your hand when you have an answer. I want every hand to go up. Okay. That's good enough for now. Throw me some numbers. What's that number? 58,000. 160,000. 120,000. That's how many people hours a day are going down the tubes when you're not changing the way your school works. Just for a point of reference, human beings live about 600,000 hours. If your number was 120,000 hours, you're wasting a human life about once a week. Does that help you with the intensity tempo thing? If you don't look at it that way, life begins to be just kind of a escalator that goes sideways. Well, I'm going to go to work again today because that's what I did yesterday. You have to go to work with an idea that we're going to change stuff. If you go to work with the idea that we're going to maintain stuff, it's not going to get better. Retask things, identify and act, right? The 360 math thing. I walked in, I said, I'm the curriculum guy. I see regular math. I need to look at stuff. I bumped into 360 math one night on Netflix and I was like, we're going to do this. I talked to a couple math teachers. I said, I'm going to order these boards. I talked to my maintenance guys. I said, we're going to put these things up. We're going to do it before the year ends so they have an idea what's going on. That's the mindset on getting fast change. Little miniature Q Rockstar teacher commercial. We got these all over the state this year. But I'm working on Q Rockstar for admins only. No teachers. All admin faculty. All admin faculty. All admin attendees. Only about 60 people. And it's going to be hands-on. So if you're a principal and you've always wondered what the Google dashboard looks like, you're going to get a chance to break it. And that's me. That's the wrap-up. That's my Twitter handle. That's my email address. If I said something that makes you go, yes, you can email me. If you want to fight with me on email, I'll do that too. So thanks for coming, you guys, and I really appreciate it. Change your schools. Thank you.